Hi, everybody. You're listening to WXED 107.3. This is DJ Nikki in the studio with Jonathan Cortez from the elwoodcity.org for your weekly news wrap-up. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Well, the funny thing is we always record early for the weekend shows, and usually I always say, it's such a beautiful day outside, but somebody gave me a heads up. It's going to rain all day on Saturday. Oh. So since this is airing on Saturday, we're going to steer clear of how beautiful the weather is. But we're recording on Friday here in the studio, and it is beautiful today.
It is.
It seems like whenever I have things to do and I'm out and about, it's never really beautiful. But on days when I really have to buckle down in the studio the whole day, it's beautiful out. So I'm hoping it's going to be beautiful this evening when I get out of here. So you have lots of news, especially lots of sports news, which excites me. I love sports.
Yeah, we primarily have postseason sports successes for Elwood and Riverside.
Yeah, we've had a very, very good athletic year this year. So break it down for me.
The Riverside baseball team won their first two playoff games. Mercy ruled 10-0 in both of them.
Oh, my goodness.
And their pitchers, it was a different pitcher each game, had a perfect game.
Oh, so it wasn't even the same pitcher.
No, they have two really good pitchers,
Two
apparently.
really good pitchers. Wow. Well, that's awesome.
Yep. So they'll be playing Keystone Oaks, which I never heard of, on
I don't believe I have either.
Monday.
Okay. So that's coming up.
Yep. So, and the Elwood softball team played their first postseason game against Neshannock, whom they had already defeated.
They'd already crushed twice.
Before, yes. So they won that 11-4. And their next game will be Burgettstown. It's at West Allegheny, but they'll be playing Burgettstown.
Oh, okay. When's that coming up?
Monday.
Monday also. Okay, cool. All right, well, good luck to the Elwood City softball team and the Riverside baseball team coming up Monday. Any other sports going on?
Next week is the PIAA track and field championships next weekend. And Riverside and Elwood both sent people to state. So how that works is first you do the WIPIAL qualifiers. Mm-hmm. And if you qualify, you go to the actual WIPIALs.
Okay.
Which was yesterday. And at WIPIALs, the top 8 medal and the top 5 advanced the states.
Oh, okay. All right.
So track had...
I'll have to check and see how they did, because you said that the WIPIAL finals are Friday, right?
The WIPIAL finals were yesterday.
Oh, okay. All right.
And so the track, the state finals will be next weekend.
Next weekend. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I did write down everybody that qualified.
Oh, okay.
So we had for Riverside, Lance Fisher in the shot put, Brandon Tidrow in the pole vault, Jeremy Speicher in the 300 hurdles, and Calvin Wetzel also in the 300 hurdles, and the 4x4 relay team, which is, well, the 4x400 relay team, which is Skylar Rubzik and Jackson Cohn, Nate Brown, and Calvin Wetzel. And for the girls, Elsa Entel in the 100 hurdles, and long jump, and Kara Seebacher in the pole vault.
Okay.
So
those are all Riverside students?
Yep. Riverside has a really good track team. They've always had a really good track team. There is a team track competition before the individuals, and they usually do fairly well on that too. Okay. Yeah. So because in track, there's so many events.
Right.
You can always have when I was in high school, we had a really good distance people and good pole vaulters, and then that was like it. We got an occasional other stuff, and then since then it seems like actually in the past 10 years, almost all of our current records were made. Because you go in the Howling Stadium on the ticket booth, you can see
all the records.
And yeah, I was talking to head coach Tom Nattell, and he said that since he started coaching in 2006. Almost all of the records have been set again.
Wow.
So
that's amazing. All right. So anything else with sports this week?
Well, the Elwood people that qualified. So Taylor Petrak in the 300 hurdles.
Yeah.
So she was 4th, and we know that
she's extremely athletically talented.
Yes. She was the state champion last year in swimming.
Yeah.
So she also runs track. 300 hurdles is a grueling event too.
I know. I've been sitting there several times where you see people throwing up on the side of the track.
Yeah.
It is awful.
Just that distance with hurdles, and it's like a pretty much just doing a slow sprint, I guess. It's not really
It's just.
Yeah, it's not.
The amount of energy exuded though to get up over that hurdle.
Yeah.
to just, oh, it's awful. But I don't know. I'm curious to watch these kids as they go further to see if some of them get into the local Ironman contests and stuff. Because, you know, I know some people who have done very extremely well in the Ironman contests. And so to watch the kids who have done really good through the track and field and all those things and swimming and all that, I'm just curious to see how many of them will continue doing it.
A lot of people, some people will go into college, and then after that, it seems like everybody just stops being athletic.
I was just talking to somebody the other day, and she was real athletic her whole life. She played softball. She got to college, and she realized that, you know, well, her first year of college was all about, she realized how fun partying was.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people that are very good in sports, they're so disciplined their whole life that they never get kind of wild. So this girl, her first year, she went really wild, and she realized how fun partying was. But then she pulled from that discipline she had learned being in sports all her life and, you know, ground herself back down into learning her education. So her second year in college, she like doubled the grades that she was making her first year. Because I think that somebody sat her down and was like, oh, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
But a lot of people, you know, when we were talking to Dooney the other day, and he just said that the discipline that you get and the loyalty that you learn to teammates, that carries on. It applies in your adult life. It makes you a better coworker. It makes you work better with people towards one common goal and not just a self-centered desire to be number one. You realize to be number one, a lot of times you have to work with several people. And Dooney was saying that not enough people recognize the importance of sports, as opposed to schools like Aliquippa, where the parents put too much focus on sports and they bust down their kids' self-esteem because they push them so hard, you know. But then the other side of that is a lot of parents in a district that doesn't have a lot of money, they push their kids to sports because they think it's the only way they're going to get out, you know. So there's a happy medium somewhere in there for sports. You know,
you have to be realistic. You take what you get from it. The vast majority of people aren't going to get a scholarship.
Right? Yeah, so. I mean, I think it's probably like 5% if you're lucky, you know. Yeah. And you see some of these people that are just natural born champions when it comes to not only athletics, but the mindset that it takes to be the best. When we were living in Newcastle, the first year that I moved there was the year that the basketball team went undefeated, and one of their best players was TJ Hooker. Not TJ Hooker, Malik Hooker. And I was like, wow, this kid's so good. Well, then I found out that he had a full football scholarship too. He was that good at football. So now he's playing for Ohio State. And then just this past year, we read that his brother, can't remember his name, it might be Marcus Hooker or Marquise Hooker or something, but we found out that he is in line to get a scholarship too. So I don't know, good genetics or good parenting, I'm not really sure. But anyway, what else do we have going on in sports? Anything?
Well, the other Elwood qualifier.
Oh, we had another one?
Yeah, we had two.
I got so tied up with Taylor. Okay.
Yeah, Billy Lott, who we haven't talked about before too much on .org or anything. He's a distance runner, so I was a distance runner in high school. He's better than I was.
Oh, wow.
But, he's a junior. He was in 7th place. However, there's a qualifying time that you can run to, which he did. So he ran a 4:27 1600 meter, which is 4 laps around the track. It's approximately 1 mile.
He did 1 mile in under 5 minutes?
Yeah, I did too when I was in high school.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was 4:53 or 4, which those 20 seconds is a huge difference.
I thought that it was amazing whenever a friend of mine, to become a sergeant in the military, you have to run an 8-minute mile.
Yeah.
And I thought that was amazing, but if y'all can do it in under 5, well.
Yeah, no offense to the military requirements, but that mile thing is not too. I know in some cases you have to do it with your full gear on.
Yikes.
Which then the time's slower, but just the regular whatever they require people to run a mile in isn't not too difficult.
Wow. The fastest that I've ever done a mile was 11 minutes. So I'm really slow apparently. I don't need a bunch of extra baggage though, because I carry my baggage every day. So you did, what was your time when you did?
I don't remember. It was like 4:50.
You act like you're old.
It was 10 years ago. That was...
Really?
Yeah.
You were in high school 10 years ago?
Yeah.
You see, I learn a little tiny bit more about you every time we have this little meeting of ours. Apparently, you're a lot older than I thought you were.
Well...
I thought you were like 23.
I'm 26. So you're not that far off, but the year I ran that would have been 10 years ago. So I would have been done with high school.
9th or 10th?
Yeah, 10th grade. Yeah, I didn't run my senior year.
Oh, okay.
And I was like anemic or something.
Well, if you were so good at it in 10th grade, why didn't you stay with it?
I got I don't know how to say. I got like anemic or something in 11th grade. I lost like 30 pounds.
Oh, dear
in
goodness.
just a couple months. So
Wow.
I was really slow then. And then my next year,
I can imagine.
I was just like, I'm done.
Trying to get strong again after that. Wow.
I kind of gave, I said whatever. It's my senior year. I don't care
Yeah,
anymore.
I get it.
So, but back when I was in high school, which I guess I'm not old enough to say back when I was in high school, but
No.
when I was in high school, 427 would not have been 7th place. That would have been
Like third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First, second, or third. Not
So
necessarily
somebody
first
raised up
because-
that bar in the last 10
Yeah,
years.
because we had Jake Walker from Lincoln who set all of our records and almost set the state record. Or did he set the state record? I should know that.
Wow.
Maybe he
I've heard
just
his name,
missed
but
it.
I don't know what the records are.
I can't. It was in the 2 mile. I can't remember if he set it or just missed it. He set all of the men's
short
distance
one? Yeah.
records, and those will probably never be broken because
He was that good. That must be why I've
there's
heard
just
his
not
name
that
before.
many. The chances of somebody being that fast in Elwood again is not likely.
Well, there you go. Everybody listening out there in Elwood City, if you got some young teenagers, start pushing them to run distance because we got some records that have been set for 10 years that need to be broke.
Yeah, I'll go over and look at. I'll write down. I'll go look at the scoreboard,
Yeah.
and then another week.
Yeah,
I'll
we'll
read
do that
them out.
another week.
But he does. My
We'll
brother.
take
My
a
brother
look
is on
back
the
way.
board with Jake in a relay.
Yeah.
So one Cortez made the Hall of Fame.
All right. So what else do we have going on for this week in news?
Well, this is in response to a comment that I saw. Well, that was posted on .org. Somebody was arrested. So the police pulled them over in Elwood, and they ended up searching their car because they smelled marijuana, and they did not get they didn't find marijuana, but they did find prescription pills, so that weren't prescribed to the guy.
Right.
So somebody, like, the comment was that isn't probable cause, but for the
How is
most
it
part
not?
it is.
Yeah, it definitely
It
is.
is. It's vague, so like in certain contexts you can
Well, I know that, I mean,
defend yourself with that.
even with cigarettes, if you don't smoke cigarettes, you can smell a smoker a mile away. If you don't smoke marijuana, you can smell it right away.
Yeah.
I mean, I was walking on the 4th of July. We were going across the big bridge that goes over to Point State Park from like the Hyatt Hotel. So we're walking across the bridge, and this guy walked past me who smelled so strong like marijuana. Well, we had 2 other people with us who they are partakers of such things. They couldn't smell it. And I was like, it's so strong. How can you not smell it? And they couldn't. And I think it's because they were, they were probably doing it at the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's like, so if a cop walks up to a car, like I remember one time I was with my ex-husband and we were coming back from a graduation party and the cop pulled me over and I hadn't been drinking. I had been working, but my husband had had a couple of beers, not even like a lot. And the cops met and the cop was like, well, you smell like beer. And I was like, no, I don't. I mean, because I haven't drank anything. But really he did. He smelled beer like from my passenger seat.
Yeah.
And granted, beer's not an illegal thing, especially because, I mean, obviously I wasn't drunk when he spoke to me, but if they smell marijuana, even if it's not in the car, if the driver has smoked it, they're going to smell it, and it's absolute probable cause to check and see if it's in the car, So I don't know who thought it wasn't probable cause, but maybe they've never encountered somebody who really smelled like it.
Yeah. And it has been upheld in courts. There are instances where you can make a legitimate defense because it's kind of, the law on it can be a bit fuzzy, but it is a reason to search a car.
Fuzzier now because they're trying to pass that it's legal to have marijuana in the state of Pennsylvania, So I mean, it's going to get probably even more hazy. For lack of a better word, I guess. But, because if it becomes a non-criminal offense, then it wouldn't give them probable reason because it would be the same thing. As
No, it would. It still would because it's a DUI.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You have to keep that in mind that I don't think anybody that is pro-marijuana legalization is also pro-DUI with marijuana.
And everybody always thinks DUIs are about drinking, but DUI is driving under the influence. It doesn't matter what you're under the influence of. Because it used to be DWI when I was young, which stood for driving while intoxicated. And then they changed it to DWI to cover under the influence of anything. So, yeah, you're right. It still would be probable cause. They would have to probably assess the driver to see if it was the driver who smelled like it, though.
Yeah.
But you were saying before we started the interview, though, that probable cause did lead them to find out that the driver was driving illegal.
Yeah, that he had prescription
and he also
pills.
didn't have his license was expired too.
Yeah, they found that out before they searched his car.
And you also said that it was not an Elwood resident.
Yeah, someone from Michigan.
Yeah. And, Elwood's doing a lot to try to clean up the town in the last several years. And one of the biggest things that they were doing was trying to find all of the bad element that was coming in from the outside. So, I mean, they're obviously going to be a little bit on edge when they see a vehicle that's from out of town, just to make sure that our streets are staying clean. But I heard recently, I was on one of the breaking news sites, and I heard that there was a bust on I-80, and this guy, they found out he had 88 pounds of cocaine. And I just thought, I wondered if he was like a truck driver or something, because to me, like 88 pounds of a drug seems like a lot, unless like your entire trunk was full or something. That was a pretty extravagantly gutsy move to drive on an interstate. I mean, I-80, we're talking an interstate highway with 88 pounds of cocaine. It's pretty ridiculous.
Volume of cocaine that is. I don't know what.
Well, I've never seen a pound of cocaine in my life.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a conception of what size a pound of cocaine would be.
Well, I mean, I watch a lot of, Law and Order and stuff like that, and they always show like pounds of cocaine like in bricks.
Yeah.
So like when I picture a pound of cocaine, I picture like a brick, I could be wrong, but it seems like 88 pounds is a lot.
Many things on Law and Order are wrong.
True. Still entertaining. I'm a binge watcher. I'm one of those people where I'll work all week long and I won't do anything. So then like Saturday, I'll watch like 12 hours of something on Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm a binge watcher. So what else is going on this week?
Well, Family Video in Elwood closed. The chain is still
You're breaking my heart here.
For those who that affects, it only slightly affects me.
It only slightly affects you?
I very rarely...
Because you're a Netflix lover, huh?
Yeah, sometimes Netflix doesn't have stuff, and I very rarely have to go to Family Video.
It's funny. I moved back to Elwood last year, and the first time I was at Family Video was 5 days ago. So it wasn't something that I do frequently, but then I found out that I finally go back to Family Video, and I get a couple of movies, and now they're closed.
Yep. Yeah, it was pretty sudden. Like, I had no forewarning from it.
Well, I had heard a tip last week. I just was not at liberty to announce it because it was just a rumor. I wasn't going to take the liability for telling everybody whenever obviously it was a secret.
Yeah.
But when I did ask people who worked for that organization, the answer that I got was, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. So that told me right there without them confirming it that they were closing. But I never thought it would have been that soon.
Yeah, this Monday.
Right. So the suddenness of it all was still amazing.
So
now you said that Eric Poole did a bigger story on it in the Elwood Ledger. So did he also include whether people are to return their already rented movies to other locations?
I have to look in today's paper. He ran one either Tuesday or Wednesday that had, it said that you would have your late fees, but that was actually incorrect. Your late fees will be waived, which was in today's article, but I can't remember if you're still supposed to return them.
That only seems fair. I mean, if I have to go out of my way to drive to another town to return movies, it's obviously not going to be, on time.
Yeah. Their other two locations are Newcastle and New Brighton.
Yeah.
From what I heard, employees can work at those stores if they want to.
Oh, so they can transfer. Yeah. Well,
and
good for the employees who drive, bad for the employees who used to walk to work.
Indeed. And that means there's no more video stores in Elwood.
That's awful.
That was the last one. They opened right around the time Blockbuster closed.
Well, I know, because everybody felt like Family Video had pushed Blockbuster out of business.
That is probably the smallest reason why Blockbuster was pushed out of business.
Blockbuster was talking about going into bankruptcy before that.
Yeah, well, they just had absolutely no conception of how to stay relevant.
Right.
They
had that push right there at the end where they were doing that. You could get Blockbuster through the mail, and you could have like 5 at a time or no late fees. They had that push at the end to try to stay afloat, but it just couldn't compete with a brand new Family Video being right here in town, And at the same time, all the red boxes and everything were really popping up, and they were really popular, and it was just too much to compete with.
Yeah.
And I think that probably Family Video, there's always somebody to compete with. And I think that Family Video took a big hit whenever Netflix became so popular, because you don't even have to leave your house.
The only thing that I think is keeping it around is people who don't know how to use Netflix or don't have it. And
everyone who can't afford Wi-Fi.
Yeah. And when you try to look for something on Netflix and it isn't there, which is a lot of stuff. Although Amazon Prime has almost any movie, you have to pay for it.
Right.
Most of them.
And
but
there's so many.
It's way too, in my opinion, it's way too expensive for just streaming a movie. I think it's like $3, this $3 or $4 to stream a movie in HD.
Oh, see, I thought it was like $5.99. I really thought it was.
Oh, it can be up to that too.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, it's just to watch a movie once. You're not even getting the DVD or buying it. It's just to watch it once on your computer. It's crazy.
But there's so many digital options now for watching TV. They have like TVCC, and they have Hulu, and they have Amazon, and they have Netflix, and all these things that if you have Wi-Fi, you have everything at your fingertips. Just search a couple of different sites, you know. But I don't know. I like the experience of walking into a family video and seeing what all the new stuff was. I'm kind of disappointed that when I was there the other day, they didn't have Deadpool, because I went to the theater to see Deadpool, and it was one of my favorite movies ever, and it was all out that night.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was never a big going to the movie store person. I'm when I was younger, and then I'm not a huge movie person in general, so.
Yeah, I actually ended up renting more than I would have when I was there the other day, because they did this, rent 3 and get like 1 free or something. So I always end up getting more than what I wanted to. But then, Sid Vicious was like, well, if you just get 1 more, then you get another one for free, Like,
that's another thing about them that I didn't get is how they made money, because new movies were more expensive, but you could get a movie for like 50 cents. Like, how are they profiting on that?
Well, and, for everybody who signed up for the half off, there were movies you could get for a quarter, for like 5 days.
Yeah. Things like that. One of my friends, I have some trouble believing this, but he says he went there once with a late movie, and for whatever reason, they just waived his fee and then gave him a free movie.
Oh, yeah. I've done that many times. Actually, one time I went in there, and we were in the midst of moving, so like 4 movies got lost, somehow packed away, so they were never returned. My late fees were like $70, because what they did was they just wrote them off for the price of the movie. But when I went in there, without even asking, the lady says, well, I'll tell you what, if you pay half, we'll take the other half off. And I didn't even ask. So I paid like $35. They took $35 off, and they were always making deals. So I don't know how they made money either.
I don't know. I mean, I guess the Elwood one wasn't quite making money. Yeah. So the less exciting part of this story is that Family Video still owns that building, and they're going to rent it to a kidney dialysis center.
How did you find that out already? I mean, the place just closed down 3 days ago.
I'm the journalist.
Oh, see that?
It was in the Ledger.
I love that you take credit for being the journalist and then just give credit to whoever found out.
Yeah.
So was it Eric Poole? Tell me.
Yeah,
he wrote about it.
Bob Viella knows about it, so. Because the company for it, it's like DaVita.
Oh, okay.
DaVita's Health Center, yeah. It'll be kidney dialysis, which...
I don't know. How close is the nearest kidney dialysis center? I want to say like Beaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
That's good for a lot of people, I guess.
In Elwood.
Well, I mean, I have a friend of mine who's only in his 20s, probably. I'm bad at judging people's ages, but I think he's in his 20s. But he's been on dialysis for like 12 years, I mean, he's a young guy. But whatever qualifies him to be on a transplant list, I don't know. He's been on it forever. So it'd be nicer to be able to just get your dialysis in Elwood, because dialysis actually makes you feel awful and really run down and super tired and just like takes a lot out of you that day. And because my dad was on it for only 6 weeks and he couldn't wait to get off of it. So if you had to travel and have dialysis, and it's nice to have something that's local. I'm really surprised though that you guys know all that quickly.
It's just
any projection on how long it'll take to revamp the store and actually open up the dialysis?
No idea. Sometime it's not going to be anytime soon, like next year. Yeah. So I mean, the borough usually knows about what businesses are, because you have to do all the paperwork and
you have to get permits
to move into a building. So that's how that happens. But then like actually knowing when and more like getting a hold of the company, things like that can take longer.
Yeah.
So
anything else going on?
In terms of other new businesses, if anyone's checked, there's got, I think, 3 walls on the on the CVS.
When you first told me about the walls, I hadn't seen it, so I made it a point to drive by the other day, and I said, man, like it looks half done already.
Looks just like a Rite Aid.
It does. Well, I might. Standard cookie cutter design.
Yeah. That really ugly windowless brick.
Yeah. I thought of you talking about the new CVS the other day, because somebody had one of those memes on their Facebook where it just talks about things that are like makes you wonder why. And one of them said, why the design of a pharmacy do the healthy people get to go right near the entrance to buy cigarettes, but the sick people have to walk all the way through the store to get medication? And I thought, I wonder why they have that design. But I thought about that whenever you told me that they finally were building the walls. And I thought, well, they should try to be revolutionary and let the sick people come right to the front.
I hope that's not like my Elwood legacy, is that I got people riled up about, about a church.
Yeah, 5 years from now, when people say Jonathan Cortez, they're going to be like, that's the guy who got everybody all fired up. Well, you got to be remembered for something. You don't look happy about that.
Yeah, I can't say what my face is. That's not transferable. So the last little bit of news is the council hired a new full-time police officer, and it was Richard Kruger, who has been a part-time officer since 2014, I believe, late 2014. So with that...
I've met him once. He's extremely good looking. I'm sure that you won't notice because you're a guy, but Officer Kruger is extremely good looking.
I'll keep that in mind when I meet him.
Okay. Well,
if I ever meet him.
I was standing in a group of girls before I ever knew who it was, and the entire group of girls all proclaimed that they would love to be arrested. I'm just saying. So now that they've taken on another full-time officer, do you think that it will help the budget for the overtime?
I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that.
Okay. You always have an opinion on everything.
I can tell you other people's opinions on it. I don't know.
There's a lot of opinions, and they all completely differ one from the other.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would take somebody to just look at huge amounts of paperwork and analyze it. And I have looked at small amounts of paperwork, and I still do not
I couldn't make heads
completely grasp all of it.
Well, right, because if you only hear bits and pieces, on one hand, you think, well, hiring another full-time officer will free up some of that overtime pay that they're always upset about. But then on the other hand, you have full-time benefits and health insurance and all this other expense. So it's, when you're only being fed bits and pieces, it's hard to decide whether you agree with one side or the other.
Yeah. And the other thing is that the department's ranking officer he's still going to be the first pick with overtime, and that's just how it goes. Like, I'm not judging that one way or another. That's just the union law.
Right.
And you have seniority. But if it was unfortunately, it's it's a government job. We're really the ones applauding that. But if it's in a non-government job, that's just your privilege. When you've worked there the longest, you get first pick at overtime.
Right. I mean, and my stepdad works for a non-government job. He's been there for 27 years, and he is always given the first option to work. He doesn't usually take it, but, because when you've been at a place for, 27, 30, 35 years, you're either one, you're entitled to that, so you take it, or two, you're tired, so you go ahead and pass it on.
Yeah.
But seniority gets you that privilege to choose whether you want to work it. So it would be the same.
I'm not saying it's right. It's the best way of managing the police department or any opinion on that. Just saying that's what it is.
It is what it is.
So, and our police department is just going to be fairly expensive because we have a decent crime rate. We're not as bad as Newcastle and places like that, but we're not
as bad as those places, but we also don't employ as many officers either.
Yeah.
This new edition of Kruger gives us 11 full-time?
I think that's right, including the lieutenant and sergeant.
Right, so we have 11 full-time. I think we have 2, possibly 3 part-timers.
We have no part-timers anymore.
See, because I thought that we had 2, and then he went full-time.
We had 3. Jason got Gotlowski. We got a different job somewhere else last fall.
See, I didn't realize that.
Jonathan Fozzie got hired full-time earlier this year, and now Richard Kruger.
And now Kruger.
And we did, the council also advertised for part-time positions.
Okay.
So if we get 2 or 3 part-time officers and 11 full-time...
That still only leaves us at 13. When you talk about a town with a higher crime rate, you're talking about a town that has 30 police officers, Yeah,
I mean, we're not... You got to figure, just this year we had a standoff.
Right,
that
I was there.
It was pretty crazy, lasted
7 hours.
So there was the murder trial, which you figure officers have to go testify to that.
Right.
And one of the officers is the prosecuting officer, so he was there for like a week or two.
Yeah. And regardless of what these officers need to be pulled to, we have to have 2 on duty.
Yeah.
So when you're only running with between 9 and 11 police officers, you're going to expect that a lot of them are going to be on the clock, so. But I think they all do a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another murder trial coming up. There was somebody tried to hang herself in the prison, in the cell. Yeah, there was.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You might have indirectly heard about an officer got accommodated for saving somebody's life a couple months ago.
I think I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, yeah. All right, so on the ending of we have a great police department, and congratulations to Kruger for being full-time. Do you think it's a wrap?
Yeah, that's a wrap.
All right, that's a wrap. That is the end of the Elwood City News wrap-up here on WXCD 107.3. Everybody have a great Saturday. We'll see you next week.